Hello my beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. And I just want to start off by saying I have a little bug in my throat. Nothing too serious. I just woke up with it this morning. So I made myself a hot toddy, so I'm going to be sipping on this for the whole video. But today is a review of a new show that I just started watching. I actually just finished the first episode and I wanted to come talk about it. The Queen's Gambit, I believe it's called. It's 6 or 7 episodes. So it's a limited series. So let's just jump into it. So we start off with, what was the beginning? Sorry, because I'm going off the top of my head. I believe we start with the car crash, and then we hear people talking, which I believe are cops, like reporting the scene. And so we have a little girl standing off to the side by herself, and then a car comes into view and you see a body on the ground, you know, covered up. And then we also have a woman reading the little girl's file. Her name is Elizabeth, and her mother died in a car crash, leaving her all by herself. So she's coming into this orphanage, and so we have like the leader of the orphanage. What is her name? Mrs. Deardoff, I believe is her name. And then we have a teacher, and is he a doctor? I don't know if they specify if he's a doctor or not, but because he administers the pills, but I don't know if he's technically a doctor. But we have those three like meeting together, going over her file, and then they say, let's greet her properly because the social worker is bringing her to this orphanage. Methuen, I believe it's called Methuen, I believe. So, you know, she comes there. Of course, she's quiet. She's not really saying anything. She just lost her mother. Of course, she's not going to be very talkative. Excuse me for a second. I don't know if I specified, but this is a hot toddy. So, you know, I got my tea, my Lipton tea. I use Crown Royal Apple, because that's the only whiskey I have. And, of course, honey. And that's what I'm sipping on, because my throat, I don't know if you guys can hear, but I feel it. It's very, like, nails on a chalkboard. There's something in there. I don't know if I'm getting sick or not. I hope not. Anyway, and so Mrs. What is it? I forgot her name already. Deardorn? I believe Deardorn. Mrs. Deardorn, like, shows her around and just telling her, you know, you'll be very happy here. And in the room, very much Annie. All the beds are together, those type of beds. And then she has, I forgot the other teacher's name. She has her cut off. She had like cute bangs that were like down to here, and her hair pulled back into a ponytail. Mrs. Deardorn, or Deardoff, I believe it's Deardoff. Don't even matter. She has her cut it. Like, she cuts the bangs that were right here to up here. You know those Beyonce bangs that don't nobody in the beehive like? Those bangs. And then she also cuts her hair to right here. And she had on a dress that's had Beth like stitched into it, and she took that dress from her saying, we're gonna burn this, and gave her what's the outfit, like from Madeline, those outfits like that. And so she just started going through the motions of the days, and there's a line to go up to take the pills, and we meet Jolene, and Jolene is a black girl, and she turns around and she tells her, she's like, your mom and your dad died, right? And Beth is like, yeah. And she's like, so what's the last thing that they said to you before they died? Technically, her dad's not in the picture, so she thinks about her mom, and she's flashing back to when she was in the car with her mom, and her mom tells her to close her eyes. So at this point, we're believing that the mom intended for this to be a murder, suicide, murder, however you want to put it, where she kills both of them, but she just killed herself, and the daughter walks away free. You know what? my bad, time out. That is not how this starts. How it starts is there's a knock on the door, and we have grown, at the time we didn't know who she was, but this is grown Beth. How could I forget this? Oh my god, excuse me. We knocking at the door, it's in French. So we hear Mademoiselle, Mademoiselle, and a bunch of other stuff I can't understand, I'm sorry. And she hops out of the tub, so I guess like she fell asleep underwater, and so she hops up, like gets ready, and she's obviously in a hotel, and she's running through getting dressed, and before she leaves out of the hotel room, she pops 2 pills into her mouth, like capsules, where one side is a darker green and the other side is a lighter green. And then she leaves out, goes down to the lobby. She's running through the lobby to get to a room. When she bursts into the room, there are a bunch of cameras like taking her picture. And then she walks up to the front, and there's a man waiting for her. She apologizes, and they sit down to play chess. But they don't actually play the game. It just starts with her looking down at the board, then looking up at his face. And then we go back to her origin story, which is all of what I said before. I don't know how I forgot that, but okay. But yeah, so she tells Jolene, she says, I don't remember what she said to me, because it's like, Jolene, she came off real rude, because she's like, because when she said, what's the last thing they said to you, Beth looked at her like, what? And she's like, don't worry, I ask everybody. We usually get some good stories. So it's just like off the bat, fam, really? Like, I just lost my mom, and you basically telling me you getting a kick out of whatever I tell you might have been her last words to me. And it's just like, okay, you may have been jaded by the system, but I just got here. Like, can you chill on me for just a second? You know what I mean? But anyway, they're in this line, and then Jolene tells her, save the green one for later. You're gonna need it, when it's time to go to sleep. And so, of course, Beth don't know what she's talking about. She's like, man, whatever. She's just thinking the girl weird. And so when she gets up to the line, there's like cups on this tray, and as they take whatever's in the cup, they line them up. Like dropping them in the thing, so it's a nice stack or whatever. But when Beth gets up there, she's like, what is it? I forgot what he told her the green one was for, but the white and brown one, he said, was to build her body up. Come to find out that the green one is a tranquilizer. And they never really say what the brown one is, because I guess it doesn't have like a real effect. The real effect is the green one that we learn excuse me, that is a tranquilizer. And so when she takes both of them, and as she's walking out, like she's woozy, because she's, I guess, never had medication before or had a tranquilizer, so it's hitting her system, and she's walking around like in a daze. She actually put her hand on the radiator, burned her hand, and when she gets her food and she sits down at a table, like the group of girls, which one of them is Jolene, they look at her like, and just start laughing, because they already know like what the pills are. And Jolene was like, I thought I told you to save the green one for later. And she's like, what is it? Like, what do it do? I didn't know. And then like she looking at the food, and she's like, what is this? And she's like, well, you better eat all of it, because if you don't, then Mrs. Deardoff, and the way Deardoff is looking at her down the table, it's just like, it reminds me so much of Annie, Mrs. Hannigan, because it's just like, you didn't even give her a chance. You just basically just ruined her life, what was left of it. Oh, that feels so good going down. Excuse me. And so then, this is what I didn't like. For it to be the first episode, I swear I thought we was coming up on the hour mark, and we wasn't. It was only like 30 minutes in, because they kept showing the repeated process of her going to class, and you can tell that she's smart, and we get flashbacks of her mom. What do I want to say? She had like a mental break, because her mom was smart. Her mom was a professor, but I guess her mom didn't want to take her medication. So although she was brilliant, she, like I said, had a mental break. So it's just like she was with Beth's dad, but she kept running away. And so like right before the accident happened, Paul, I had to remember his name, Paul shows up one more time, and he's like, you know, I'm not gonna keep running after you just for you to run away again. You know, like, I keep chasing you and I can't keep doing that. And it's like, do you really think it's right for our daughter to live in a trailer? And Alice is like, she's happy. She doesn't like to be called Lizzie. And she's like, you know, like, we're good. So if you want to leave, you can leave, but we're good. And then this is where we have the next scene is the mom, like, throwing all her clothes away and her sorry, y'all, I got tongue-tied and I just had to delete that. The mom is throwing all her credentials away, and like smaller Beth than the Beth that we have now picks it up, and it says Alice Harmon, and that's their last name, Harmon, MD or PhD. Like, the mom is very smart, but you can obviously tell that something's wrong with her. And then so we get back to the school and we see that Beth is also smart. Like, she get done with her work quick, she bored, and one day she just sitting there and the teacher's like, are you done already? And she's like, yeah. And so she picks up her paper, like, with a smirk on her face, expecting for nothing to be on the paper or just to be some doodles. And you can tell, like, obviously she got all the answers right, because she just, looking at the paper, looked back to her. But instead of, like, complimenting her or praising her, she just tells her, why don't you take the erasers down to the basement to clean them? And, you know, that's just like them old school erasers, just beating them together. And as she goes down there, she sees the custodian, and he's playing chess. But at that time, she doesn't know what it is. She's just watching him. And every day she starts to, like, sneak away so she can go down there and watch him play. And she asks him, you know, teach me how to play. What is that called? And at first he was like, no, I'm not doing it. And it's just like, why won't you teach me how to play? And he's like, no, girls don't know how to play. And I was like, oh, this is the time that we in. But eventually he does. And as he's teaching her how to play, she's starting to hold on to the green pills that Jolene told her to hold on to. And with that, at night, when she's supposed to be sleeping, she imagines the chessboard on the ceiling, like all the pieces, and she remembers, like, everything that the custodian taught her. So, like, she's laying there remembering the board, and then her hand is moving, like, he did this, so this goes here. And of course she's smart, so she's retaining all this information, no problem. And then she gets so good that the custodian talks to his friend that runs a chess club in the high school. Beth is only 9 years old. I should have mentioned that. She's only 9 years old. And so this man from the high school is like, will you play a game with me? So he plays against her and then also plays against the custodian. She's playing against both of them at the same time, and she beats them both with no problem. The next thing you know, the teacher comes for a meeting with Mrs. Deardoff, and she didn't know nothing about that. She's like, you been down, like, after the meeting is over, because he wants Beth to come to the high school to play the high school chess club. And Mrs. Deardoff, she agrees to it, you know, whatever. And after that teacher leaves, and then she calls Beth back, like, you been playing with the custodian in the basement? We can't have that. You know, like, girl, no. And so, I forgot. It was one funny part, because while the custodian was teaching her a game, he, like, stopped. And she was like, you know, no, I want to play again. And he's like, you know, no, we're done for the day. And she calls him a blank sucker. And it's just, he turned around and, you know, you can imagine, sucker. And he's like, get out. And so for a few times when she tried to go back down there to play him, he locked the door, you know, not allowing her in. And then I think it was like after the third time of her trying the door, she went back and found it was open again. And also, I guess I'll figure it out like over the course of the episodes, because there was also times like even when the basement was open, she would go outside and, you know, clean the erasers, and she would be looking at the boys standing outside of the gate smoking, and she would be staring at this one boy in particular. And then the next time she was outside, there was girls out there and she saw them kiss, and we would just see her staring at them. And I hope that means something later, because now it's just like, why are we focusing so much on this little girl staring at this teenager? You know what I mean? And so anyway, she goes to the, nope, not yet, to the high school. When she goes to get her pills, she's no longer getting the green pills, and she's like addicted to them now, and now she's not getting them, because what she would do, you know, hiding them when it was time for her to take them, she would take like 4 and 5 at one time to get her brain going. And so when she goes up there and finds out they're not giving them to her anymore, you know, like she's kind of like, what's going on? And come to find out, the state was on their neck about handing out tranquilizers to children. And so she wasn't getting any, but, you know, she started to go through withdrawal. So the day of her going to the school, Jolene stops her and gives her 2 in her hand. And Jolene notices, because Beth had asked her the night before, she was like, you know, you don't have any saved up? And Jolene told her no. But the day of, she saw like what she was going through, and she slid her 2, which I find very interesting, because it's like low-key Jolene got her hooked on the pills. Because like, if you never would have told me to hold on to them, and you know they'll make me feel a certain way, and I do what you say, and then it's like when Jolene noticed that she was hooked on them, she was kind of looking at her funny. It's like, but you basically did this to her. And then it's like you're feeding her habit when you see that she's going through withdrawals. But anyway, so Beth goes to the school with the teacher, and she has to play the chess club all simultaneously. And this is like the part of the episode, it was so funny, because it's like this little nine-year-old girl is sitting there like waiting for them to come, because I guess the bell hasn't rung to end school yet. But then when it does, she turns to look at the door, and here come all these boys. But the thing that got me though, one of them walked in, and he walks in and he's like this. I'm like, you're a whole teenager trying to intimidate a little girl? You that mad that you had to play against this little girl? And the, you know, the gag is, she whooped all of them. She go back to her school, you know, telling the custodian, she's like, man, I whooped them with no problem. They supposed to be the best. They terrible. And, you know, just talking their stuff. And it made me laugh so hard, because it's like, you really got your arms crossed, looking like a big old bully to this 9-year-old girl, and she still end up whooping your butt. And so after that, what happened after that? Because I said that like I was ready to talk, and I am not ready. She still wants more pills, but she's not getting any. And so she goes up to Jolene again, you know, like, can you give me more? And Jolene is like, like, excuse me, say hello to my new friend. And Beth, like, I don't care about that. Do you have one? She's like, Beth, I really don't want to hear about it. So it's just like, you trying not to enable her, but you the one that caused this, Jolene. So anyway, so then we're moving on to her still looking at the pills. Like, she goes back to her regular everyday life, but she's still stuck on those pills. So she goes down to the basement and gets a screwdriver. And when she gets the screwdriver, one day they're watching a movie, like in a big hall with the projector on the wall and everything. Excuse me. She has to go to the bathroom. And with her going to the bathroom, it's really her going to that medicine hall, because there were 2 big jars filled of the brown and white pills and the green pills. So she gets in there and she takes a handful, and Mrs. Deardoff, like, she catches her, like, everybody standing there looking at her, and she's standing in the chair with the big old jar. She drops the jar, and The best way I can describe it, if y'all remember America's Next Top Model, when they had to be Disney princesses, the way they had to fall, that's the way she fell, like on the floor, like that hand up and her body just slowly falling to the ground and her passing out because, of course, I'm pretty sure it was an overdose. But yeah, that was the first episode. Excuse me. And with this little bug I got, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna spend the rest of the day in bed watching it, and I might come back and do another review today, or I might save it till tomorrow. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.